Hey guys, what's up? Timmy J Tech here, and welcome back to my channel. In this series, I will be showing you how to create your own idle game in Unity. Like I explained in the first episode, you will be able to click on an enemy to earn money, and then buy upgrades so that that player can use auto-clickers. There are many ways to make an idle game, so it's up to you to decide what style you make it in. This is a great time to choose a theme for your game, which can produce a story and start to build itself. For example, in the last episode, I created a forest scene, which now I've added a barn to. With this, we can assume that there is some sort of farmer, and then maybe he has a problem, or multiple problems. Because who doesn't have problems, am I right? He asks you to herd all of his animals back to the barn. This is a very simple story, yet we can continue to add anything we want to it. My vision is that the animals will run out of the barn, but for now we'll just have them spawn out in the field, and then later we'll get them to move and potentially animate each one. The first thing I want to do is set up our assets folders in the project tab, so let's quickly make a couple folders. We'll create a folder by right clicking, and then we'll just call this one prefabs. And if you don't know what any of these things are, we'll get right to explaining that in 1 second, but I'm just going to create these folders, scripts, and sprites. So right away, sprites, this is just all of your art. We can create some background folders. So if we have different backgrounds, then we can easily store them in there, which means I can take all my backgrounds and put them into sprites. So now I have backgrounds in the backgrounds folder, and we can also create a folder for animals, because animals are going to be the enemy in this game, and we're going to have a couple animals like this duck here. So let me just throw him in. Alright, so now we have a duck in our sprites animals folder, which will be perfect for later. We're already ready and set up. Scripts are going to be all of our code that sit and run the game. For now, we don't have any, so it's just going to be an empty folder, but we'll get right to writing some scripts very soon. And then prefabs are just going to be our animals that have scripts and stuff on them. So then as you click on different animals and new ones spawn, then a prefab will be spawned in as that animal. Alright, so now that we have all that set up, you're going to want to go into your canvas and right click on your image background, and we can just duplicate this. I didn't rename the first image, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Do background image like that. So now that we have our background image, we're going to want to rename our second image to animal button. This is the animal button that will get clicked on, and when it's clicked, something will happen. So we'll want to add our component over here in the inspector. We'll just add a button. So this automatically adds a button, so when you click it, you can add different functions and make it targetable, interactable, add different colors and animations when you're pressing it. Now that we have the animal button, I'm going to right click anywhere in this section and just create an empty object, and this empty object I'm going to call animal underscore duck. I want to put my button under the duck, so now the button is a part of the duck, so I'll put it back under the canvas, and now we have the image and the duck. Right now the button is still the barn background, so we're going to want to change that. So go into sprites, animals, and select on the animal button and put in the duck. Well, that's a pretty big duck. It's actually still the scale as the background, which I did resize it since the last episode, so it is the full width and height of the 1920 by 1080p. But let's see, if you just set native size, it'll set it to whatever size your animal is. So now I've set this up to be half the scale I want, so if I set it to 2 by 2, it'll be the perfect size for my duck, and I can move him in the scene so that he'll be right here. And that's exactly where I want him to spawn when he plops in, so that's going to be his default spot. And now we are going to want to add a health bar. And so when you click on him, the health bar will show how far you have until you've caught him. This will play into the functionality that we add when he is clicked, if that is the way we want him to be caught. So at this point, there's a lot of flexibility because we can have multiple animals spawn in, as well as change how we interact with those animals. I've done a lot of research on different idle games, and it's safe to say that people enjoy something that isn't just clicking. You could change your mouse to a net, so when you drag the mouse over an animal, you would catch that animal, or have a UFO floating overhead, which would pull animals upward. In the next episode, I'll try to configure how animals are caught and make the game work a bit more fluently. To show that the duck is getting caught, we want to make sure that we have a UI element that shows the progress of the duck being caught. To do this, we can right click and create a UI image, and this is going to be called the health bar background, and you can just use BG for short. With this, we're going to want to make it a little bit smaller and put it under the duck. So you can put it wherever you really want, but I'm just going to put it about here and make it, I don't know, not too big, but I want it to be seen. So now that we have that, we're going to want to duplicate it and then rename the second one the health bar fill. So put the fill under the health bar and make sure you have the health bar selected so that you can make it a little bit smaller. This will just make sure that's being shown. And then change the color. But we want like a red. So red might be good. Make sure you then put the health bar background under the animal duck. So now you have the animal button and the health bar background. You can also change the health bar background to be not white. I tend to like it to be gray or like a darker color. And then if you hit play, you can see that our duck now has a health bar. And you can click on him because he is a button. Now all we have to do is add functionality to him with scripts so that when you click on him, he will take damage and then eventually he will disappear and a new animal will spawn. And of course we can add in a lot of stuff in between this, like animations and different ways to click. By making a function that can be used when just clicking on the duck means we can use that function in a lot of different ways. I don't mind keeping it as a click, but I do want to figure out a new way to do that. I like to try to make new functionalities for my game so that it's not just point and click. Perfect, now that we have the duck in the scene, he doesn't really do anything yet, but we can create a new script now. So let's go back to our assets and enter our scripts folder, right click and create a new C# script. We'll want to name this animal, because this is just going to be our animal controller. Everything that's in the script we can give to whatever animal that spawns in, and then it will use those functionalities to take damage and give money to the player, stuff like that. Double click on your script to open it. I prefer Visual Studio Code. Alright, if this is your first Unity script, there are a couple things to note. At the top here, these are your libraries. You are just using the system collections and Unity engine. This allows you to use C# and the different things that are implemented. If you want to use Unity UI, you want to use Unity Engine.ui. This will be helpful when using different UIs in the canvas, and each enemy is technically part of the UI in the canvas. Now that we have that library added, we can continue editing our script. So I'm going to fix a few things. We do not need start or update, so those can be deleted. So first we want to figure out what we want our animal to have. And I have been talking about a few things like health and money, and those are basically the two things we're going to want. So public int cur HP and public int max HP. Both these will keep track of how much health each animal has. Max HP will make sure that they don't go over a certain threshold, and current HP will keep the status of how long until that animal is caught. Then we're going to want another integer, which is called money to give. This will be the money that this animal gives to that player. Then we're going to want to import our health bar fill, which is a image. So public image health bar fill. Now that we have that, we can set the current HP to be what the health bar fill is. So that'll be super helpful. First, we'll want to make the damage function. So when the animal is clicked on, this will trigger and it will deal damage. I'll create a public void damage function. And in this function, we're going to want to update the health and the health bar. So current HP minus minus. So each time it is clicked on, the HP will minus by 1. And then the health bar fill amount. So we can set the image fill amount because it is a UI and set that to equal to how much the current HP is. So we want a current HP divided by max HP. Perfect. And now that we have that, we're also going to want to cast these to floats because these are going to be multi-digit numbers with decimals. Then we're going to want to check if the animal is caught or if you've herded them into the barn. So if they are caught, or their current HP is less than or equal to 0, then we can call the function caught. Alright, so now that we have that set up, we're going to want to make the caught function, so public void caught. In this function, we're going to want to make sure that when the animal is caught, we add money and that the enemy is removed from the game. We can do that in this function here. So we'll add money, and we are going to remove animal. So this is the basic outline for our animals. In the next episode, I'm going to make a game manager, which will allow us to control different elements of the game, as well as an enemy manager. So once an enemy is caught, it will be removed from the game and control all of those stats. Once we have a game controller, then we can add in different functionalities to our game. I'm super excited to get into it, and I hope you'll stick around to see what's next. If you want to support me on Patreon, I do have a page. I'm trying to create new assets that indie developers can use for their games, especially if you're still new to pixel art like I am. But with practice, we will all get better, so if you did enjoy, please drop a like. But thank you all for watching, and have a nice day.